Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Sergio Leone's For a Few Dollars More from 1965. So yes, we're back once again, Leone style, and here we are, the second film in the Dodge Trilogy, and yes, once again, we're reviewing this film, and there will be a spoiler warning, once again, on this discussion. You know, if you haven't seen this film, you know, recommend seeing it first, and then coming back to this, I will be going through different plot points and you know, the different well, a lot of the film, so I wouldn't want to kind of ruin it for you, you know, if you've not seen it. So yeah, just a little warning there as always, really. And yes, let's dig into this this film and discuss this film. And you know, again, just a reminder as well, a nice thing to say. You know, I don't really review films, you know, such. On this channel, I know I kind of put review in the title, but you know, it's more just me, you know, rambling, you know, I guess, to the camera and just talking about films. You know, I don't really anymore, at least, talk about much films that I, you know, hate or don't really like. You know, unless I kind of I'm going through a director and you know, I want to kind of at least pay tribute to, you know, all of their films and not, you know, kind of single out different films just because I perhaps don't like it as much. But you know, generally I just talk about films that I like or love, you know, on the channel, and just go through them. And yes, just give my thoughts, my experiences, you know, personal, you know, connection to films, how they inspire me, and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, just however kind of long these videos are, you know, how kind of how much I ramble, I guess, you know, it doesn't really bother me. And of course, there are different videos out there, you know, channels where, you know, people do more kind of concise, you could say, videos. But you know, it's just me on this channel, mainly just me, you know, talking to the camera about my feelings, you know, of film, and just breaking them down, of course, into different elements, for the most part, you know. Visuals and all this kind of stuff, but mainly just, yeah, me talking to the camera, and from there, you know, I really I love, you know, kind of talking to different people, you know, in the comments, and saying how they like a film or perhaps don't like a film, and you know, different genres, of course, directors, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I love doing it, and I'm not gonna kind of change that. Just a reminder going forward, you know, my videos are, yeah, I guess sometimes, you know, rambling, just discussions, and that's what I like to do. And a good you know, kind of ramble, I guess, you know, is a kind of, I'd be proud of that, you know, I guess, if it was called that. And yeah, certainly a film this time around that I can talk about for a while. And yes, let's discuss this film, one that truly inspires me, and you know, it really is one of the most enjoyable films, you know, in cinema history. And you know, the first time I saw this, I was blown away. Of course, once again, yeah, we have the Blu-ray here, part of the set behind me, of course, the Spaghetti Western Trilogy, and yeah, it's just here it is on Blu-ray, and you know, there's the back as well, and just what a film this is, and so much, you know, to kind of cover on this video here. And you know, as I say, the first time I saw these films was 2014, and the set, you know, behind me was one of the first kind of you know, Blu-rays I got in general. You know, I started collecting Blu-rays, you know, just before, you know, I think 2013 was when I really started, you know, going out of my way to kind of start collecting Blu-rays. And you know, before I didn't really have a Blu-ray player, for example, you know, before that, you know, really. And yeah, I think it was actually 2013 that I finally got, you know, a Blu-ray player of some you know, kind, and started actually, you know, collecting Blu-rays. And before that was DVDs. But yes, the box set behind me was one of the very first that I had, and you know, just it was one of the kind of prized possessions that I had. And you know, really, this trilogy for me, the Dodge Trilogy, you know, it's just one of my absolute favourites, you know, in cinema. And I think, honestly, they do get better every single time. And I know some people don't, you know, think as much on this one, you know, For a Few Dollars More, as, you know, for example, A Fistful of Dollars. And I love them all so much, and you know, I don't really, you know, it doesn't really matter, but you know, for the record, you know, I do much prefer this. And then, of course, The Good, Bad and the Ugly is even more of a jump, you know, for me, you know, over this film. And we'll get to that film, you know, at some point. But yes, For a Few Dollars More, when I first saw, you know, A Fistful of Dollars, you know, I loved it. I thought it was a great film, and you know, there's really, you know, not really too much that I didn't really kind of like about that film. And you know, I was quite, you know, really blown away actually by that. And you know, then I put on this film, you know, shortly after, and you know, did not expect, you know, as much perhaps, you know, because of the kind of overall the acclaim and this sort of. It is higher on IMDb, you must note. You know, as of, you know, doing this video here, it is definitely in the top 150, and you know, on that, and I think last time around when I talked about this film, you know, it was a bit higher, but you know, some films have dropped on that. But you know, in that sense, you know, it is much more loved in some areas, you know, across the internet, and how you judge how much people love films, and this kind of stuff, you know, and different sites. But you know, I think especially critically, it seems like this was the least kind of loved film, and yeah, it just kind of is seen as the weaker part of the trilogy, and not always the case though. It has got a lot more attention in recent years, and since I first saw it, it has got even more. I've noticed love and attention, and people kind of evaluating it a bit differently, and saying it's actually perhaps their favourite of the trilogy, which is perfectly understandable. It really is such a unique film, this, and in its own way, it's just one of the best westerns ever made, and I think for me, this is an absolute masterpiece, and one of the best westerns, and just one of the best films ever made. And as I say, I first saw this film, I put it in, and once it ended, I was blown away. I did not expect this. The emotion, that's one of the things. First time seeing this, the emotion and just the weight to these characters, especially, of course, Colonel Douglas Mortimer, of course, played by Leone Cleef, in this film. Of course, he is in The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and I think he's even better in that film, personally. But in this film, the pairing between him and Clint Eastwood, it's just one of the most enjoyable kind of I think duos in cinema. Just kind of this friendship, this kind of team up, kind of buddy film, it is, and saying that though, it's kind of over 40 minutes into the film where we actually have these two characters interacting really in that way, and then of course short after that we have the kind of the hat scene, which is just legendary, this bonding perhaps, and just this comedy and all this kind of stuff. But this team up is one of the most enjoyable in cinema history, and I think the characters, the reason why it's just for me so much better than the already great Fistful of Dollars, it's the characters, it's the weight to them, and the emotion, the narrative, this whole kind of the way in which this whole arc, and this revenge that plays out, the redemption arc, of course, of Mortimer, and combined with a plot that is for me, I guess just more concise, more kind of involving actually, and more interesting, and the characters and the motivations, it's much more clear in this film, and even more relatable, and more kind of as I say, more layered, kind of more weight to them, and I think just everything else as well. The visuals, the music, those kind of stuff, just is even better. But yes, just generally the kind of the comedy, and I think how kind of involving this is, and how fun it is, and how kind of much more kind of thrilling this film is, and clear and kind of concise. I think that is one of the reasons why it's just leaps and bounds for me above A Fistful of Dollars. Of course, really everything is better in this film, but it's mainly the characters and the emotion, all this kind of stuff. That is just so much better than the first entry, and kind of these living, breathing, kind of characters, in this kind of world, this gritty, harsh world, but it is filled with comedy, filled with charm, and likability. I think Mortimer, especially, is one of the best characters, in a western, and I think equally as good as Eastwood, of course, in this film. Leave and Cleef, but and they work together so perfectly. But on his own, I think Mortimer is just such a kind of great character in this film, and I think we of course introduced him first. That's kind of interesting, of course, a departure from A Fistful of Dollars, where I guess this character, in this film, he's called Manco, the man with no name. But in A Fistful of Dollars, he is kind of the one man, kind of on his own, and kind of going into this town, and they're all kind of surrounding him, and he's kind of at the center of this universe in that sense. But in this film, you could say at first he's kind of treated as a secondary character, a supporting character, and we kind of we have the kind of the intro, of the film mainly being, this. Of course, we have the amazing gunshot, of course the titles, which is just stunning, and of course the theme, Morricone's score we'll get to very soon. But we have the focus mainly being at first on Mortimer, and then of course Eastwood comes into it, quite a bit, into the film, at least in the first kind of 15 minutes or so, 15 minutes and around that kind of mark, I guess. And of course he comes into it, on the horse, and on horseback, and it's just the rain and all this kind of stuff. Wow, we'll get to that, but just at first we have Mortimer being introduced, and we have this kind of reveal which is so epic, and seeing him on the train, and of course he gets off, he pulls the emergency kind of stop, and illegally of course, and then goes off, and kind of the intimidation there of the kind of the train guard, and all this, and then it goes with the horse, and it's this kind of charming comedic scene, but it's this kind of memorable kind of introduction to the character, and I think straight away once again, I was just reminded of how great this script is, and of course Leone, one of the screenwriters here, of course, but the script is just so good. Sharp is kind of this almost kind of classic Bond feeling. The way that the characters interact. The kind of the style to this. The cool. The charm to the characters, and you could say that the quips, all this kind of stuff, and just the comedy in general, and these epic, kind of iconic characters. The villains and all this. It's kind of a bit Bond-like actually, and it's this kind of the way in which the characters, kind of introduced as well, and the music as well, the motifs, the melodies, kind of for different characters, you could say, and that's kind of furthered in, of course, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But we'll get to that. But for now, this film, I think, really masterfully, kind of introduces all the different characters in the first act, and we have, of course, El Indio, once again played by Jean-Marie Volontè, and he is so, kind of so much better than he is even in A Fistful of Dollars. He's great in that film, a great villain, and I think in this film though, it's just even better. There's more kind of mystery and weight, to this character, and just kind of, I think he does even more kind of with not kind of speaking at certain moments, and I think just kind of this really mysterious character, and the body language of Volontè, and just the mannerisms, and you can see this kind of perhaps regret kind of on his face, and all this. He is a character who kind of goes about and kills people, and picks them off without kind of hesitation, and he doesn't really care at times, and he is this reckless kind of cold character, but there is an underlying feeling I get from him, and this character of El Indio, and I think the weight to the whole kind of to the film. Once you've seen it, you look back on it a bit differently, and you realise, of course, because we'll get to the reveal in the final act, but looking back on the rest of the film, is a bit of a different experience, perhaps with Indio, and is there this kind of regret, and this kind of this kind of feeling of he's done some things in his life that he's not pleased with. That's the kind of feeling I get at times from this character, and I think Volontè, pulls this off, perfectly. I think he is such a great villain in this film, and as I say, more emotion, more weight, and even though it's mainly through revealed through the character of Mortimer, is of course all tied together, and of course the final act, we get all these different reveals. It really is just mind blowing, and just this sadness that runs throughout. But of course we have the comedy, as I say. It's a hilarious film, and I love the kind of bonding, after that first, kind of act or so, or that you could say, in the actual first act, the kind of tail end of it, we have, of course, bonding of, these two characters, Manco and, of course, Mortimer, and it's just kind of the characters getting to know each other, and playing off, kind of showing each other who's boss, and they're kind of in the sense of this film, they're kind of equally matched in that sense, and they show different their skills, of course, and how for example Mortimer is approaching gunplay a bit differently, and you've got Eastwood's character kind of doing his own way, and in that sense they're different, different styles, but they kind of are both as equally affected really in this film. And of course the main plot is just these two bounty hunters, these two characters we're mentioning, kind of trying to track down El Indio, and of course the reward is massive, on his head, and he has different gang members as well, and added up, of course they do the maths, and it would be a massive amount, and then working together, they realise they have better chances of taking down El Indio, just claiming this reward as well, and then of course the idea being they can split this reward, and just in a sense they will still have probably more than they kind of would have anyway, because of course El Indio and his gang quite skilled, and perhaps the chances of them individually in that sense taking them down would be more slim, so they kind of opt to basically team up and take him down. Yes, the initial the first time seeing it, of course, motivation, you think it's just both of them want the money and this kind of stuff, and obviously we'll talk about the final act now, because it is kind of pivotal to the rest of the film. Of course, seeing this film for the first time, I was just blown away by how we have that twist, or that reveal, really inevitable reveal, in the final act. And really in the jaw. Wow, kind of sequences at the end. We have, of course, this flashback that runs throughout, and this woman's being, of course, abused by El Indio, and it's further back, in the past, and this flashback, and of course, this is mystery to it as well, and we have, of course, this other man as well coming into it, and we don't really know at first what is going on, but of course, in the final act, it's revealed that the woman that's killed and kind of abused as well, she is of course the sister of Mortimer, and that is revealed as such a pivotal moment, in that final act, and I think when that first happened, I was kind of thinking throughout the film, there's just mystery. What's going on here? I want to know. Will we ever get this? Would it be just something that's not wrapped up? And I was so blown away by the first time seeing that, and then I kind of looked back on the film a bit differently, and ever since, it's always something that brings tears to my eyes. The kind of final act, and just the final kind of reveal, and the sadness, on Mortimer's face, and I think Lee Van Cleef gives one of the best performances in cinema history, in terms of a Western character. Wow, so much kind of, as I say, weight to this character, and very, very subtle as well. And in the end, he doesn't really, kind of go over his thoughts, his feelings on this. He's, in the sense of, talking to, for example, Manco. He is just, we know enough, and that is it. And then he kind of goes off, and he's kind of once again chirpy, you could say, and kind of joking with Manco, but there is this kind of real kind of sadness to the whole kind of narrative, and his character, and I think the subtlety to this is what makes it even better. Perhaps we don't get loads and loads of exposition at the end, or a reaction to the reveal and all this kind of stuff. We see the reaction, of course, him talking to and revealing this to Manco, but we don't get this massive rundown, and him breaking down in that sense, and it's all the more affecting, I think, in this film, to kind of do that, and leave it once again, leave some things still, to the audience, and the sense of wonder here, and just the kind of the sadness to it, is more powerful because we don't get too much in that sense, and I love this film, in a structure sense. We have a perfect setup, perfect kind of middle. We have the robbery, of course, the Bank of El Paso, and of course, as we know, just looking back on all this differently, in the end, it kind of, as we have that reveal, we know, rewatching the film, for example, that Mortimer is not really after the money. He doesn't really care about this. He just wants to kind of take down El India, and that is just so effective. In the sense, in the final act, the jaw is not between Eastwood and our villain. It's between Mortimer, really, doing the actual shooting here, and Mortimer and our villain. So that's a kind of a really interesting way in which Leone mixes it up, and I think Eastwood, of course, he's a star, he's a legend in this film, but it's Lee Van Cleef who's given the kind of main, if there is one, central role, protagonist, and it's all the emotions, all this kind of stuff. Is mainly through his character, and of course we'll get to the pocket watch as well. But seeing this robbery as well, in the center of the film here, the Bank of El Paso, the build up is just perfect. The tension unbearable, the way it mounts, and we know the stakes, but not quite at that point, and then of course, gradually throughout the rest of the film, after this robbery, it becomes more and more epic in scope, and by the end of it, of course, it's just one of the most, I kind of always think to myself, that is one of the most, kind of unforgettable, kind of adventure films, Western films, and just the experience of seeing this film, and the way that weather is captured, and locations, and just this atmosphere, I think, through the the visuals, the score, of course, and just the characters, the kind of loneliness in this film that's portrayed, and even though it's more of a kind of bigger scope, and it's more big than A Fistful of Dollars, there's more kind of characters in this, and more development, I think, personally, that film, but I think still there is this kind of loneliness and sadness to the actual environment, the world, and I think the world really is so masterful in this film. The way Leone just directs this film, the way he kind of edits this film, it's such a wonderful flow to it, and I think Acts 1, 2, and 3, it's perfect flow here, and we get so much kind of different things littered here and there, reveals more information that's given to us at different times, but not quite enough until the final act, where it all kind of is revealed to us, and we have that kind of that realization that all these different things, they meant that, and just in the midst of all this action and chaos, but it's so kind of masterfully orchestrated by Leone, of course, and Morricone. This pairing, I must say, the score to this film, of course, the theme, being so iconic, and back in 2014, I was listening to these all these different scores, massively, just obsessed. Of course, I am obsessed, with these scores. But back then, I was just kind of it opened up a new world for me, and listening to all these different Morricone scores, and just listening to more Western scores as well, and through seeing this trilogy. And I must say, just the score to this is in my top 100 scores of all time. And I think, just as I say, the theme is great, but well, it's stunning. But I think all these different moments, for example, the duel, the chapel shootout, that's one piece of music that is just stunning. Of course, the watch chimes that's kind of used in this film as you could say this foil, really, to bring up character motivations. The flashback is done through this watch, the chimes, and then it leads into different moments. And of course, they kind of put this down, and when the chimes stop, that is when they will draw, and all this kind of stuff. So the pocket watch, which is matching between El Indio and of course Mortimer, which kind of is so epic in the final act. And kind of noticing that it's the same kind of watch here. Wow. But I think this pocket watch is one of the most important things about this film, and I think this emotion, this tragedy, and this act of redemption through time, and through this watch, really is genius in the way it's done. So poetic, and all these different themes. It's kind of Shakespearean. This kind of revenge act, redemption, honor, legacy, and this kind of thing. Mortimer, is not going to rest. He will not feel complete really until he has carried out his revenge, and through his kind of valuing his sister. Of course the feeling of family, this theme plays into as well, and this whole kind of redemption act is very, very powerful indeed. And he, of course, in the end, he does take out El Indio, and as we know, he doesn't really want the money. He actually gives the reward, of course, to Eastwood, Manco, and in the end, he rides off, and really is this wonderful moment there, which we'll get to. But this film really is so rich, in detail, visually, characters and themes, and I think becomes more and more, kind of apparent the more I watch it, and just the same kind of even more epic, ride that I get through just simply watching a thrilling western. There's sort of comedy, charm. We have, of course, the pairing between, as I say, Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef, and as well, of course, different moments as well. Different characters, side characters. Klaus Kinski as well, playing Wild. He kind of adds a lot of comedy to the film, and this friction, this tension between him and Mortimer. Is so kind of, it's so charming as well in its own little way. And we have the kid as well. That kind of forgot to mention. That kind of is giving Eastwood information. On the hotel and all this kind of stuff. The characters that are kind of coming and going into the town. Of course, he kind of meets this kid, and he gives him money in kind of exchange for information, and the kid is kind of exploiting Eastwood there in a way as well, and just like Eastwood is kind of exploiting the kid in a way, and it's kind of that kind of banter, moments like this, kind of chemistry, between different actors throughout the film, everywhere really, every single character in this film, and even just the background characters, it's so kind of well thought out, and it's so charming, and as I say, warm, and I get this feeling from the film. It's so comforting, and seeing, of course, especially the friendship between Lee Van Cleef and Eastwood's characters, how it forms naturally, organically, and I think in a human way over the course of the film. And that's the thing as well. This is this legendary film, this mythical western. For me at least, and this epic adventure film, and in the end, brought to tears, as I say. But it starts out, as a very, of course, visually epic film. But just kind of focusing in on different, very small moments, details, and perhaps quirky moments, unique, kind of games that characters are playing with one another throughout the film. The hat sequence being one, and of course the two seeing each other, of course as well. Kind of reacting there. Before that, kind of moment. But just the way in which it starts out, in this kind of human way, and this very small moments. It's just kind of it's elevated through Leone and his style, and just the way in which he builds different sequences, and how he develops the characters. Visually first. That's the key. Visually, and then they're talking and all this kind of stuff, and we learn exposition throughout the film. But just seeing how he starts it off, and in the second half it kind of builds and builds and builds. Of course, never kind of letting up with the comedy perhaps, and different moments of information being revealed to us throughout the film, in a very balanced way, and kind of all round, just a wonderful flow, as I say. But in the end, kind of he takes all these elements, the stakes by the final act, just so high, and the very simple plot. We remind ourselves. As it starts out, these two bounty hunters, kind of wanting to take down, El Indio, who has this massive reward on his head, and he breaks out of jail in the first act. As I say, wonderfully set up all these characters. It starts out very simple though, and what it becomes in the end is truly a legendary experience. And looking back, as I say, on the rest of the film, I find so much kind of details that are hidden throughout, that you're kind of picking up on, and it's kind of seeing them a bit differently throughout the film. And I'm so kind of moved by this film, and I think just the characters, as I say, are so great, and I think the visuals, in this film, of course, A Fistful of Dollars, visually is masterful to me, and the score as well. But the visuals to that film, the framing, and just the way in which we have, once again, in this film, juxtaposing these kind of close-ups, extreme close-ups, and in this way, it really is just Leone who's done this, in a particular way. For example, Once Upon a West, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. All these films, of course, there are similar films at times, in these kind of close-ups. There's been extreme close-ups before, and since in cinema, but not quite like this. This is Sergio Leone close-ups, and it really is something to behold. Capturing, of course, all the grime and the grease, and just the kind of the harshness, of the world and the weather, of course, all in this film, and wonderfully kind of using this to kind of create this grit, I guess, and its realism, and just combining that with this, really beautiful, kind of capturing of nature, the landscape shots, and just the framing in this film, once again, is stunning, and for me, even better than A Fistful of Dollars. This film is masterfully shot. I think, just as I said, the framing, the kind of the staging here is wonderful, and leaving out a lot, at different points, for a wonderful effect, I think, as well as, just everything in the frame, and the way it's all, kind of arranged, the camera movements, and how every single shot, every frame is just this, it's like a painting, of course. It's just wonderful visuals to this, kind of once again similar to Fistful of Dollars in the palette, the color palette, but I think in this more kind of dreamlike at times, and more, perhaps, at times I think more, perhaps, just more intense, more, because it's bizarre at some points to kind of give off this disturbing effect, and I think, even more so, he's using different techniques, the cameras, the lenses, to kind of create this distorted feeling at different moments. The flashbacks, one such example, how it's this really affecting and distinct, kind of sequence, set of sequences that is kind of shown throughout the film, and it's kind of contrasted with different scenes, and it creates this kind of jarring effect perhaps, and it kind of sticks in your mind. It becomes ingrained, and then it is even more affecting, I guess, because it's a pivotal point in the film, and how it kind of develops the characters, brings the full narrative, or the narrative full circle, and I guess I really love this film visually. I think the long shots, once again, juxtaposed with the close-ups, the extreme close-ups, it really is something else. The way the characters are kind of arranged, and all the chase sequences in this film, that's one of the things. The action in general, and the chase sequences, are wonderful in this film, and just the music, of course, to El Paso, one such kind of track that's just stunning, the robbery of El Paso itself, the bank, it's just so epic, so kind of invigorating, and just uplifting. Once you have that, of course we know what kind of piece it is. I'm not going to kind of hum it or anything like this, but just really we know what it is. We know what kind of piece I'm referring to, and wow, it blows the mind. Morricone composed such pieces of music that I don't really know how he done this, but it's just some of the most epic music I've ever heard in a film. And once again, he goes one step further in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which we'll get to. But this score is one of my top 100, as I say, and I think pieces like this, of course, the Chapel Shootout, and I think the final duel, especially, and the moments after that, when Mortimer departs, all of this, it really is. By that point, it's just this heavenly score. The kind of farewell between, the kind of passing ways between Mortimer and Manco. That is one of the most emotional and kind of mythical pieces of music I've ever heard. And the duel music itself is mind blowing. And what a final act this is. And of course, this final duel. Let's just kind of once again discuss this. This final piece of this film is so mind blowing, and one of my favourite kind of sequences in any film ever. And I think just for me the best part of the film is this kind of final 20 minutes or so, and we have this shot where we kind of see Leone and Cleef calling out, of course, El Indio, and of course the pocket watch and all this kind of stuff, and the confusion, and of course Mortimer, played by Leone and Cleef, he kind of loses his gun at one point, and of course El Indio is about to kind of shoot him, and not actually kind of honour the kind of duel here really, and of course Eastwood comes into it once again, Manco, and we have him holding the actual pocket watch, and Leone and Cleef, just looking, that look there, it's just so kind of perfect, and I think it's just Eastwood, of course, giving Mortimer this kind of this holster, and his weapon, and then of course the kind of the music kicking in here, and then of course the epic line, of course, now we start, and yes indeed, yes we do, now the duel begins, and they're both kind of it's a fair duel, he evened the odds in a sense, and then of course we have that epic wide shot, of course, and then Eastwood, the music really kicking in here, of course, and then Eastwood sitting down, on the part there, and just sitting, watching this duel with his gun in hand, and then the push in there, which of course just slowly pushing into Eastwood, the character of Manco, and just slowly pushing in, seeing him. He looks around, and it's this music at the same. Kind of similar music that is used, in the Chapel Shootout earlier on, but it's even more epic in this duel, and wow, what a piece of music, all combined, this editing, every single element of filmmaking here, in this whole sequence is mastered, so much, and I think just as I say, that pushing, that moment when the music is really pumping, and we see Eastwood, the cool kind of reserved, but epic, kind of looks that he gives, and just slowly pushing in, and then just seeing, him very close up, or not extreme close up, but seeing, the actual, not all of his frame there, and just that push in there, and that moment from when we start the push into the final moment there, and then of course cutting back to Mortimer and El Indio. That is just, I think, so inspiring to see. In this moment, Leone is, it's a teaser. Let's just say that, for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I think in that film goes even further. This duel, it's kind of like a mini duel. For a certain moment in that film, which we'll get to. But it really is, in its own way, just one of the most epic, kind of sequences, in cinema history. And I think, as I say, the score, the editing, the actual framing, and the stakes, of course, kind of heightened here, and just getting that, that final moment there as well within this whole kind of last 20 minutes, where we have the full reveal, and then of course, yes, Mortimer saying, well, Eastwood remarks afterwards, the kind of resemblance, family resemblance, and then of course Lee Van Cleef's character Mortimer saying naturally between brother and sister, and then of course that is finally when we have that, and right at the perfect moment there, we have all these things tied together, and his revenge in that sense is complete, and it's fully realised, the narrative, and then he said no to the share, his share of the reward, and Eastwood of course asking him do you want this kind of thing, and that kind of moment there when he says no, he just refuses it, and we know that his intention, his motivation, his motive all along was just to simply get revenge on this character of El Indio, and there it is, a satisfying kind of moment for this character, and that's the kind of very, very sad for me parting ways between we'd never get this again, of course, between Lee Van Cleef and Clint Eastwood, this pairing, and I just think it's one of the best in cinema history, as I say, and we never get this again, of course. We get that remark, and then of course maybe next time from Mortimer and Lee Van Cleef saying this, when he says this, just it gives me chills. This epic kind of moment, that line, and just maybe next time, and no, maybe not. Never again would they be, kind of have this kind of partnership, in a film, as we know in the next film, in the trilogy. Once again, Lee Van Cleef is back, and he's not. It's not kind of reprising this type of role. That's not kind of a spoiler, but yes, he's not. Of course, from the we know that straight away in that film, and that is really sad. I guess that kind of maybe next time it has that lasting effect, as well as kind of course, for the character in the film, but just never again will we get this truly kind of likable, just immortal, kind of pairing between these two actors, playing these characters, and just it's amazing, how this trilogy kind of progresses, different ways, and of course, the good, the bad, and the ugly, being the final one, for me, the best in the trilogy. But they're all unique, and they're all kind of they have their own different thing going on, in this film. One of the best things about this is this how Lee Van Cleef is playing this good guy, really, you could say, and of course different moments where he's ruthless and all this, but he is on the same team as Clint Eastwood, and I think, as I say, it would have been great to see more kind of westerns where these two would be kind of pairing together in a way of they're on the same side, and kind of doing this sort of stuff. But no, we never got that, and that's fine. But it is very sad as well, in the same regard, and just that final moment there when kind of another character is kind of coming out and trying to shoot Manco, and when of course Mortimer is going off, riding off horseback, and then of course Eastwood shoots that character there, and that is the final, because he's missing the piece of the reward, the $27,000 in total, and then of course it brings up to that, and he realizes that he shoots that character, and that is all of them dispatched, and he has the full reward in that sense, and of course the moment though, the charming touching moment there when one last look back from Lee Van Cleef saying any trouble boy, and and then of course a remark from Eastwood, and the laugh of Lee Van Cleef, and riding off this whole kind of duel, high noon, an epic one, and then of course just that visual moment, seeing the sun, just drenched kind of landscape there, and the figure there, the horseback, Lee Van Cleef, and one last thing as well, in terms of all this, the attire throughout, the actual budget this time around, bigger than a fistful of dollars, but $600,000, I believe, around that, and just once again, Leone is just making use of his budget, and I think the outfits, all this kind of the style of this, and all these different set pieces, it's perfect. It really, really is. It has this kind of grittiness to it, but it is grand, just fully realised world. Different locations, not too many, it's not overwhelming, but different locations, and all of them, just stand out, kind of the kind of the sets, and the wardrobes, and the outfits, of these characters, Lee Van Cleef especially, just seeing his outfit, and just the style to this film, and how it adds so much to the characters themselves, and their stories and where they've been, and just how what they've been through in that sense as well, and how just they're going about as different figures. It really is stunning and just perfection, this film. And I love, as I say, that final moment when Leone Cleef rides off, the laugh, and then he goes off. Very, very sad, of course. These it comes to an end. These two characters, their friendship. But maybe next time, maybe in some way. But it certainly didn't happen. In film, and it's very sad. But yes, that kind of brings us to kind of wrapping this video up. I've said most of the things I want to say, on this occasion, and what can I say really that does this film justice? I think, of course, people react differently to different films, but for me personally, it's nice to see that the kind of how this has grown, and gained more recognition over the years. And for me, I have to agree, this film, is a great one, and for me, an absolute masterpiece. I think the performances, the script, the score, of course, and the way in which, of course, this was done, before the film, began. It was usually the case for Leone films. He wanted the score, and he would play it on set famously, and just kind of shoot to around the music. So it's so genius the way he done this, and really shows in his work. It's all kind of in tune with the music. Is a character, and it is them. It's their feelings. It's their past. Their present and their future. In a sense, and this score is one of the best in cinema history. And I love of course the visuals to this film, the cinematography, and the editing, and the push-ins, as I've said, in the cinematography, and just the right moment cutting to. In between, close-ups, extreme close-ups, and long shots, and medium shots as well. But it's this really distinct juxtaposition, and the grit, the grime, and the beauty as well, and just the minimalist times, color palettes, and I think it's very murky and kind of heavy at times, and perfectly kind of portraying this intensity, and very violent film at times, and wonderfully brings us out, the kind of the blood and all this kind of stuff, and just a very shocking film at times. The action and the shootouts, and they come fast, the shootouts, and at times, and then in the end, it's this operatic, kind of built up, grand, majestic, lengthy kind of shootout, and it's this kind of all these different techniques, and this structure, this flow, that's so perfect. Kind of going between different comedic, fast scenes here at first, introducing characters perfectly, perfect balance, and then extends. It really does. This film expands. The lore to it, the scope, and the characters, the motivations. It becomes bigger than it starts out, and until the very end, which is just the last 20 minutes, as I say, one of the best, kind of final acts, in any film. And for me, this is one of the best westerns ever made, and a massive step up from the 98% that I gave A Fistful of Dollars this time round. And the last time round, I gave this a certain rating, and for this viewing, I have to say, and before that, I did kind of suspect, this would be promoted, and I guess, it was kind of a long time coming, and it's been a few years since I saw this, but yes, this time round, I finally give this film my rating of 100% plus tier 2. So yes, what a film this is. A tier 2, it's very, very high indeed. This is well into my top, 200 films. It's very high in that, kind of mark, and I think one of the best films ever made. I cannot stress that enough. I think this is way better than, the great, A Fistful of Dollars. I'm not dismissing that film, but this is leaps and bounds, above that film, and I think, as I've said, for the reasons I've talked about, the characters, the weight, the emotion, the atmosphere, the kind of mystery and wonder to this film, more kind of exposition, more to care about in this film, more concise plot, very, very, very simple, bounty hunters, money, rewards, robberies, very, very simple, and I think just I think it's more clear in the way it's told, and I care even more about the characters, and their motivations, and how it's all tied in with the plot and all this, and the way things happen, that I'm just so much more immersed in this film. It's more immersive, more visceral, and I think more poetic as well. So it has everything going for it, and even better in every single regard than the first film in the Dodge Trilogy, and this is just, I think in general, one of the best second installments in any kind of trilogy or franchise kind of thing. It really is one of the best, and I would take this film over many westerns. I think it's one of the best for me, and a tier 2, very high on my list, and I think the final act, especially different moments in this film, certainly higher worthy, in terms of marks. Overall, this film, what can I say? It means so much to me. When I saw this film, that's when I really fell in love with, I guess, with Sergio Leone's work, and of course I loved A Fistful of Dollars the first time round. But then when I saw this soon after, I was kind of nodding and just thinking, this guy, wow, he really is one of the best. And then I saw, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and well, there we go. There's a reason why, combining that with two I had already not seen at that point. Wow. Of course, one being Once Upon a Time in the West, and the other being America as well. Once Upon a Time in America, and just seeing those films, at some point as well. After this trilogy, there's a reason why Sergio Leone is one of my absolute, I wouldn't say where on my list, but favorite filmmakers, and he, again, not too many films he made, but 5 of his films, are on my list of favorites, and I think this film here is the first for me, flat out, masterpiece that he made that I've seen, and I must say, as I say, a step up, and then some, and for me, in itself, it's such a unique film. Of course, I do prefer even more, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But saying that, I think this film on its own, and the middle portion, the middle part of the trilogy, this is one of the best films ever made. We'll get to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and of course, Once Upon a Time in the West as well. At some point. In the form of these, kind of reviews or discussions, as I say, I call them reviews because I've always done that. Essentially they could be seen as just talking points, discussions, on these films. But I will keep them calling them reviews for now. And I just I've had a great time once again discussing this film, and I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. Truly, I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about this film, and what do you think of it? What's your experiences with this film? When did you first see it? And how would you kind of perhaps rank this film? I have put up a ranking a while back, of course, of Leone's films, and you can kind of leave your thoughts on that. But if you want, you leave your thoughts here, on your ranking, and how this kind of compares for you to his other films, the trilogy, and different Western films. What a master, what a genius, and so inspiring. His filmmaking, his style. This film has it all. It shows his style. Better than A Fistful of Dollars even, and it's so fully realised. He has a combination of style, and emotion, weight, and world building. Small details with this massive grand feeling, of course, and adventure feel, and contained moments, set pieces, and moments in time that's all kind of rings true, and it's brought full circle in that final act, and the entire film is a masterwork. It's something to behold, and one of my favourite films in cinema history. It inspires me so much, and just a sense of hope as well, in this film that is portrayed, through the characters, especially Leone and Cleef's. That's it for now, though. I love this film so much. It's such a kind of, as I say, inspiring film, and it really is one to kind of look at, and for me, and to behold, and just to cherish, and glad to have rewatched it, of course, and it was a great experience, and my best experience actually, with the film, and seen it around kind of I think 4 or 5 times now in total, and every single time I've loved it more and more, and that initial though experience was so great, and as I say, it would be great to hear your kind of first experience with this film, and your feelings on this, and always a pleasure to kind of discuss these films, and that's what one of the great things about this YouTube, discussing films in a positive way, and respectful manner, and hearing different people's opinions on different films. So yes, of course, that's it. We're wrapping up, and as I say, different videos coming as well. This is part of my new kind of schedule. You know, I've got different a different schedule, of course, and every month or so at least, I've got different ones to get through, videos, and it seems to be working, and yeah, just more of a kind of relaxed, yet more kind of attentive, I guess more informal approach. Yeah, more kind of I'm enjoying once again even more so getting out content, and yeah, it's been great. Recently got a few things that I started, of course, this series being one of them, and yeah, it's going to be great to talk about these other films that I plan on doing, Sergio Leone films, of course, that I've discussed, and yeah, of course I look forward to discussing those films as well. So yeah, that's it for now, yeah, of course, and it's been great, and it'd be great to hear once again your thoughts in the comments. So yes, as always, take care, and thanks for watching.